Welcome back, everyone, to Lore with Ludus Infinium and the 30k Legions. Today we're going to talk about a legion that I have been looking forward to the absolute least, and it did confirm at least one of my doubts, because this one has definitely taken me the longest. This is possibly one of very few legions with as much lore written about them, and it is obviously the 13th Legion, the Ultramarines. So, the original Ultramarines had displayed signs of increased aggression, as all the Astartes did, but they also exhibited increased unit cohesion and a dedication to the achievement of assigned goals. Now, something that was really important during the Unification Wars and at the beginning of the Great Crusade was the Osiris Rebellion. So the plan was a rapid strike of the capital of the Osiris cluster, Cabasset. I hope I said that right. And upon landing, they were swarmed by the civilians with just a glazed-over, dead-eyed look, with improvised weapons up to and including vests made from explosive mining equipment. Use your imagination there, folks. After fighting a slow attrition, which was really not what the Ultramarines or Warborn were really a fan of, they finally made it to the capital. A new enemy appeared, the Osirian Cybrid. And to give you an idea about how just awful these things were, they basically completely overwhelmed the 13th, to the point where the then Legion Master Vasotho, I hope I'm saying that correctly, ordered a full retreat and transferred command to First Master Marius Gage. Gage pushed the retreat, and out of a force of approximately 33,000, the losses were around 6,500 Astartes. Now, let's talk about the overall losses, and then we'll talk about why it's important. So, in addition to the 1/5 of their Astartes forces lost, they also lost about a quarter of their ships, and the majority of the Astartes that were lost were veterans. But here's something else to consider. These were Astartes. These were not Imperial Army. And between 6,000 and 7,000 of them just got killed. Yeah. So, it's one of those things where that's not an easy thing to do. That's the kind of enemy that we're facing at this point. But after reuniting with their Primarch, Papa Smurf, Rabute Gilliman, the Ultramarines and their Primarch committed fresh campaigns, with Macragge, where they found their Primarch at its center. And this is the beginning of the realm of Ultramar, also known as the 500 Worlds. So essentially what they did was they started with Macragge at the center, like a dartboard, and just worked their way out. And they committed many successful campaigns. Interestingly enough, and I'm going to get to this a little bit later, but a planet that was in the realm of Ultramar, that was not brought into compliance, was Nuceria, which is the planet Angron was found on. Interesting little fact. Anyway, so a significant battle after Rabute Gilliman was found, but before the Horus Heresy that I do want to talk about was the Eurydice Terminal. The Eurydice Terminal was their reunion with another significant force, the Osirian Cybrids. But this time, at the cost of more thousands of Ultramarine lives, the Cybrids were finally defeated. This is something where I have some issues with this, because Astartes normally don't throw their lives away. And this is one of the few good pieces of Ultramarine lore that I like, because it shows that even they can get vengeful and desperate enough to want to defeat a foe, they'll throw anything at it. So now we cross the time gap into the Horus Heresy, and we're going to talk about three things, but really two things specifically. We're going to talk about the Battle of Calth, the Shadow Crusade, and the effect the Ultramarines had on Terra. More on that later. The Battle of Calth. So Horus knew the Ultramarines were a threat due to their sheer numbers and the strategic ability of Guilliman. Guilliman and the 13th were sent with a force of Lorgar and his word-bearers to Calth in the realm of Ultramar. And this is when the word-bearers announced that due to what ended up happening is the Ultramarines, under the orders of the Emperor, exterminated a city that the word-bearers had propped up because they were worshipping the Emperor, and the Emperor wanted to put a hard stop to it. So the word-bearers held kind of had a hate boner for the Ultramarines, and I will probably get to that in the word-bearers lore. And so they expressed their hatred for their brothers in the most effective way possible. A sneak attack. And the fighting on Calth was completely brutal, to the point where it looked like the Ultramarines would not come out on the other side of it. But somehow, plot armor, they overcame the surprise attack from Lorgar and his word-bearers. I mean, plot armor. The genetic flaw. Every legion has genetic flaws. The Ultramarines is plot armor. Anyway, so on from Calth, they end up chasing the Word-Bearers and the World Eaters across the Shadow Crusade and make their way to Nuceria, also in the realm of Ultramar, Angron's homeworld. And there was a massive fight between the Ultramarines against the Word-Bearers and the World Eaters. Now, this resulted in, I don't even want to call it a Pyrrhic victory, I'd call it a near complete victory for the traitors, because not only did they force the Ultramarines, the largest of the Loyalists, to retreat, this is when Angron became a demon Primarch. Yay. As if he needed more anger problems. So, after that, you have Imperium Secundus, which will get its own video, because that's more of Rebooting Guilliman's lore / its own thing. As far as the Ultramarines for the rest of the Horus Heresy, not too terribly much, honestly. And then when you get to the Siege of Terra, they had no effect. They got there after the Siege of Terra. Thanks to the Ruin Storm, thank you, Word-Bearers. But here's something actually kind of interesting. After the Heresy, during the Great Scouring, due to the lack of conflict in the early stages of the Horus Heresy, and to an extent, the only time the Ultramarines really fought, we'll call it kind of like the middle, with the Battle of Calth and the Shadow Crusade. But after the Shadow Crusade, there wasn't much fighting. Before, the Battle of Calth, there wasn't much fighting. So they were the largest force, and they were a big part in the Great Scouring and pushing the traitors back to the Eye of Terror. And, yeah, something I do kind of want to point out, and it kind of makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit, because it does give the Ultramarines a little bit of credit that I don't want to give them, to prove the necessity of the Codex Astartes and splitting up the legions. The Ultramarines came to the aid and ultimately the salvation of the Imperial Fist at the Battle of the Iron Cage against Perturabo and the Iron Warriors. And this just makes me sick to my stomach, because it is a firm belief of myself and a few others that the worst thing ever to happen to the legions was the Codex Astartes. And that will be a video that I make at some point in the future. If everything goes right, hopefully after I do all the legions, and maybe after all the Primarchs. But it's either going to be between them or after them. Hopefully. But, yeah, that's the Ultramarines. You know, not as completely sickening as I thought it would be, but holy shit, that was a lot of lore. To give you an idea, there was more research put into this video, or at least more material to go through put into this video than the World Eaters and the Iron Hands combined. So, I really appreciate everyone's patience with me. I appreciate all the support I've gotten from, you know, my community when I talk to them on Discord about how how stressful things are getting. So I just want to give a big thank you to everyone in the community, everyone who watches the videos. For those who are just now watching them, who are just now coming to the channel, if you would like to support the channel, subscribe, leave a like, hit the notification bell, do all that stuff that YouTube basically demands at this point. I don't like it, but it really does help out. But the most important thing of all, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!